So I wanted to start the session with the question, why are we here? Why are we in Riyadh on the 9th of May in this beautiful exhibition? Um, and the reason is because we are in the entertainment industry, which is very, very exciting. And also there's a lot happening in the entertainment sector in Saudi. So we are witnesses, or we are witnessing very, very exciting projects. We are witnessing like the new wonders of the world being planned and actually built and delivered in this country. So I think this is the number one. The other reason, of course, is business. The business is growing. The market opportunity in Saudi is huge, and we will see some numbers. But the entertainment sector is projected to contribute $23 billion to the Saudi economy by 2030. We see a lot of license being issued for entertainment. We see attendees numbers skyrocketing year by year. And also we see tourism numbers as well, driven by entertainment, being driving this growth. So what is the growth that is projected? This year it's projected that the revenue from entertainment and amusement will be 2.55 billion, and that is set to grow to 4.2 billion by 2029, and that's an annual growth of 10%. Also, tourism is, as I said before, driven by entertainment. And what we see is that in 2022, contribution to GDP in Saudi was 3.8%, with almost 95% visitors. In 2030, this number will rise to 10% contribution and 150 million visitors. That's a 60% increase in the next 5-6 years. So where did all this start from is the Vision 2030. That's the engine behind the growth. So we see a lot of significant transformation already being delivered because of that vision that was introduced in 2016. So as you see the quotes from PwC, they said this year that strong performance has been achieved against many of the economic goals, and the Saudi Arabia mega projects have made significant progress in the last few years, moving from concept to construction. We see this in this exhibition. I was here last year when it was the beginning of the excitement because projects started being delivered. The excitement is even higher because a lot of the mega projects are actually now active and live and accepting visitors. There's also a focus on sports, bringing sports and recreation to the mainstream, and the Saudi seasons, which we have 11 themed events that have become a fixture in the calendar, in the tourism calendar in Saudi. The growth drivers, there's 5 different drivers that actually contribute to the growth of the entertainment sector in the country. First of all is religious tourism, with the plans to increase capacity for Hajj and Umrah visitors to over 30 million by 2030. Resort destinations, we know about all the Red Sea projects and Amala, trying to attract luxury visitors to the country. There's a cultural heritage sites like Alula and Diriyah that are being transformed into tourist destinations, actually capitalizing in Saudi's rich culture. Entertainment and sports venues, and finally gaming as well. So these 5 are the leading subsectors that are driving the entertainment sector in Saudi at the moment. We have 4 very significant government stakeholders that are driving this growth. Of course, there is a lot of private investment as well. Some of them you can see in the sponsors list. that are investing hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars in pushing this industry forward, as well as the 4 government entities that you see on the screen. So of course we have the PIF, which entertainment, leisure and sport is actually one of the many fields that it's responsible for growing. And its remit is to grow the non-oil GDP in the country. So they're also dealing with aeronautics, automotive, etc. But entertainment is one of these pillars that they are working on. Then we have the General Entertainment Authority, which its remit is to attract local and foreign investments, to foster development and expansion of companies and professionals in the entertainment sector, and also the licensing of everything that has to do with entertainment. So they are the authority that issues these licenses. The Events Investment Fund was launched in 2019 and actually revolutionized the events industry in the market. And its remit is to actually produce, to create, develop cutting-edge venues to host world-class events. And finally, we have S-7, Saudi Entertainment Ventures, that is developing extraordinary entertainment experiences across the KSA, building partnerships with global brands like Hasbro, Discovery, etc. And it contributes to Saudi Vision 2030 by elevating the quality of life of citizens and residents. So the key milestones of where we started from the 2030, from Vision 2030 in 2016, it started with events. So we had in 2018, it started with the opening of cinemas. In 2019, as I mentioned before, the introduction of the Events Investment Fund and the Soundstorm, the first huge festival in the country, and then with events taking place at the Alula city. What we're seeing from last year and this year is actually, it's a time of the mega destinations to contribute. So we start seeing destinations being delivered, and this is in Diriyah, Qiddiya, Red Sea Global. And from next year onwards, we have 7 delivering destinations, entertainment destinations and projects in 5 key cities. We have, of course, all the projects of NEOM, and we have Jeddah Central. So all these are the key milestones of the past and of the future on the road to 2030. So this is a very quick market overview. Just before I move to the next section, to let you know that there is, we have prepared a whole report in association with DMG, which you will be able to request. That has a lot more depth and information about all these projects and a lot of indicators in terms of how the industry is evolving. Now let's move to another area, which is, okay, we have these events, we have these destinations. How do we measure how successful they are beyond, obviously, the revenue that they will generate from ticket sales, etc.? So positive scores, as we call KPIs, key performance indicators, are achieved for 2 things. If you target, if you give the right things to the right segments, and also if you deliver a positive visitor experience. So as researchers, we have 4 metrics that we use in order to understand how successful a venue or a destination is. First of all is a Net Promoter Score, which is a universal score. It was something developed by Bain & Company a couple of decades ago. It's a very simple question that you ask your visitors. Would you recommend this event, this venue? They give a score from 0 to 10, and based on these answers, we understand if people are promoters, if they give the top scores, or detractors, if they say, no, I would not recommend it. And it's a very good indicator. There's a lot of science behind, but it's a very good indication of whether you are delivering a good visitor experience. The second KPI is satisfaction, a direct reflection of the level of satisfaction achieved from the visitor experience. And this again is a question we ask in questionnaires that we do post-visit with visitors, and we ask how satisfied are you? And this again is an indication of whether you satisfied their objectives. The third one, which is a bit tricky, is value for money, and this is probably the most misunderstood. Because value for money doesn't mean is it expensive or is it cheap, and if people say it's not good value for money, you should lower the prices. The way consumers think, or visitors to an exhibition thing, or visitors to a hotel thing, is am I getting my return on investment? Am I getting what I'm paying for? Is the ticket reflecting the amount of time I spend in the venue and the amount of enjoyment I get from the venue? So this is very, very important as well as an indication of whether people are happy, satisfied with the experience. And finally is another very straightforward question: do you intend to come back? A reflection of whether, again, the experience was enjoyable and you want to repeat it. Now, I'm giving you these KPIs for entertainment, but this is exactly the same KPIs we use for this venue. You will hopefully receive a survey after tomorrow, and these are the same metrics we are measuring in order to understand the success of this show and also the entertainment venues. So we have done a lot of research. What you will see is not numbers, because again, this comes from a compilation of a lot of projects that we have done for our clients in the Middle East in entertainment. We asked them, what are your priorities when choosing a leisure venue to visit? So number one is safety. Now, safety is not something you will have a campaign about and come and say we're the safest theme park or the safest destination. But this is something intrinsic that people expect, and it's a number one. And this, of course, if you're a theme park, it means that the rides are safe. If you're a destination, it means my kids can roam freely and I feel safe for them. So the first one is safety. You can see the relative importance of this based on the size of the bar. The second one is value for money that I mentioned before. So do I get my spend worth in terms of entertainment? The third one is easy access. And now this in the Middle East can be a very painful area because public transport is not as evolved or developed as it is in the Western world. So what we see is we have amazing theme parks, amazing destinations, no transport to get you there, so you have to take your car. One street going into it and out of it. So when you go and when you leave, there's a queue. And also the parking is maybe too far away or insufficient. And this is a big problem. So this is something that we may take for granted, but because there's no public transport, it is a big problem. It's the third thing that people say is the third most important when I make a consideration to visit. The fourth one is look and feel. Is it an attractive place to go? And the fifth is activities for all. This was also mentioned in the previous session. Activities for all is very, very important. Because if there's no activities for all, and for all can mean families with children, or it means a group of friends that have different, they like different things. If you don't have activities for all within your target, of course, it means that you're putting barriers in people visiting you. Yes, I want to go there, but my friend doesn't like it, or he has nothing to do there, or my children have nothing to do there. Also important, and you can see these are lower down, but also important, but lower down than the five. Quality of entertainment, always something new to see, cool to share online, which is something we used to call Instagrammable. I think now it's probably TikTokable, and interactivity. So these are the factors, and again, it's very interesting when you see the ranking of these factors. Similarly, we did research to ask people, what are your considerations when it comes to holidays and or staycations, so holiday within your own country? And here we have these factors, and we have three groups, as you can see. The three most important, and you can see there's a distance from the following, is quality time with family. One thing I will come back in the next few slides is when we say family, it doesn't necessarily mean children are present. It could be family with children or family without children. But quality time with family is the #1 driver. The second one is to relax, switch off. So when we're thinking about entertainment, I do not want to go somewhere where I get stressed. And this is probably linked to what I told you before about parking. If going there stresses me because it will take me an hour to park or an hour to leave, it's not relaxing. And see new things. So this is very important when it comes to holidays and staycations. Then you can see the rest. Just to highlight here that this is an overall average. Different markets have slightly different, the bars are slightly different sizes. Also different segments, and I will come back to that in the next slide. Different segments might have a different combination of these or slightly different priorities. But overall, and this is a study that was made in a lot of countries, including Saudi, overall, these are the priorities that consumers have when it comes to these entertainment venues. So I spoke about segments, and usually what happens with entertainment destinations is you hear, we are targeting families, or we're targeting families with children. Now, I used to work for a destination in the Middle East. Also, I used to work at Walt Disney many years ago. And what you do by using this very, very convenient target is you tend to ignore other segments that may be equally important. What you see on the screen, again, this comes from a lot of different types of researchers that actually give us similar results, and this is a summary of all these results, is we have three groups. One we called family and fun driven, and within that we actually have two different segments. One is families that want to be adventurous, to explore with their children or not. And we also have a family that want to go somewhere and switch off. They want to go to a resort or to a theme park that everything is within 5 minutes walk. I do not want to have to climb mountains or anything like that. Then we have two segments under the category unique activity driven. And again, this could be with children or without. And here we have two groups. One is people who want to make the most of the day. So they want to have a full schedule, wake up, I'm going to go to the swimming pool, then I'm going to go to the mall, and then I'm going to go to a nightclub. They want to have a full schedule when they're on holiday or when they go to a leisure destination. And there's another group that are a bit more picky, a bit more choosy. They want to do unique activities, and they seek quality in entertainment. So they're not willing to try anything. They know, for example, I like high-end restaurants. They just want to go there. They're not in for exploring. But again, these are more segments driven by unique activities rather than family fun. And then we have the two segments we call relaxation driven. One is about switching off and relaxing and being close to nature. And when we say nature here, think more Europe, mountains, trees, this type of nature. And then one that is switch off, relax, and enjoy the sun. Now, again, these segments have different sizes and different importance in different markets. For example, as you would expect, in Northern Europe, the sun segment is larger. But what is interesting in the Saudi market is that the middle segment, the unique activities, is actually as big and as important as the family one. So if you start entertainment destinations, theme parks here, and you say we are targeting families with children, you are excluding a very, very big chunk of your market. So this is something to keep in mind. Some tips, and the point here is to get the marketing, the targeting, the visitor experience right before launch. What we see very often in the Middle East is actually new venues launching, And all of these things are an afterthought, and then you try to retrofit and fix it. It's much easier to do it from the beginning. And there's a lot of examples of a lot of theme parks, for example, in the Middle East that have damaged their reputation, sometimes irreversibly, because they got these things right. So here's some tips. I'll go fairly quickly. But first of all, local residents will be your most frequent visitors. This is by default. The tourists are very unlikely to come a second time to a theme park, for example. You have to treat them with respect. What happened in some cases in other venues in the Middle East, they started with very, very high pricing for residents and locals. The locals went one, and then they said, that's it, I'm not going again. Also, you had a very high ticket price, and then they would charge you for parking, for example. Whereas the right thing to do is make it easier for them. They are the people, if you're in Europe, that they will go to your theme park on a rainy Wednesday in February, or in the Middle East in a scorching hot Tuesday in August. They are the people who will come. It's not going to be the tourists. So make sure you treat them and you target them properly. A loyalty scheme can work wonders for revisitation. A loyalty scheme can be something very easy, like a passport where people get stamps for visiting different places within a theme park or a destination, down to a very sophisticated, data-driven, point-collecting loyalty scheme. Both work, and both are important if you want people to come back again. And again, this is a very growing market. Competition, even internally, will be very, very high. Integrate customer experience in the master plan. If you build, as I mentioned, the pain points before, the parking in the wrong place, it's very, very expensive. Actually, you cannot change it. So then, oops, my screen is gone. There we go. It's very, very difficult to fix. So but at least before launch, make sure you pretend you're a customer in your own theme park, walk around, see what works and what doesn't work. Your staff are your ambassadors. They are the people who need to be happy. They need to understand, and they need to be able to transmit their excitement about the place they're working on. Use data analytics to understand visitor preferences and tailor experiences accordingly. This is, I think that was mentioned in sessions before. It's customization is the future. How can you tailor experiences for different groups? Prioritize safety measures and communicate these. Invest in systems to manage queues effectively. This is a huge, huge pain point, of course, for theme parks, and there are solutions. Over the past 2 decades, there's a variety of solutions, the cheapest one being provide entertainment while people queuing, more expensive being with electronic systems. Host special events or themed seasons to keep the experience fresh and exciting so people will revisit. And implement mechanism for real-time visitor feedback. This is something that as GRS we implemented at Expo 2020 in Dubai, and it was a daily, actually hour by hour, we're collecting data, and the Expo 2020 team were actioning on the data and changing things on a daily basis. This is very, very important. So how to achieve high visitor satisfaction? As I insinuated before, there's 3 phases. One is planning. It's before you launch or before people visit. It's understand the market, understand the branding, the positioning. Who are you targeting? Can you plan the CX before? What is the pricing and packaging? All these you can do before with surveys. During the visit is optimization. So again, this is listening to your customers while they're on site, and after the visit, measuring the impact and refreshing and calibrating your offering. I will not go through these, but these are some key pain points. Comes from a lot of surveys that we do every week and every month on what are the key pain points that people complain about in surveys from entertainment venues. So it has to do, you see a lot that I mentioned before, the food and beverage, we mentioned the previous session, the value for money. So all of these are real problems that people are complaining about, and this is from well-established venues as well.